So last Saturday was Free Comic Book Day, and I had an absolutely great time. I was actually posted up at the Silver Snail. They were kind enough to not only invite me to come sign some books, they ordered dozens and dozens of bundles. And by about 1 o'clock, I was out of copies to hand out to folks. So it was a lot of fun. It was a couple hours, really, of me spending time at the Silver Snail. And I got to meet so many people from the local area, a lot of which actually knew me from the Instagram and Substack and YouTube and all that stuff. So I really do appreciate you guys who came by and are listening now. I appreciate it. And those of you who are new, welcome to Pesto Comics. I hope you enjoyed the book that you read on Free Comic Book Day. And for those of you that bought issue 1 on April 29th, I hope you pre-ordered the book on May 4th because issue 2 comes out the first week of June. So off the hop, I just want to thank Brian and the team at the Silver Snail for having me there. It really does mean a lot, and I've talked about it in the past, but the Silver Snail, it's a shop that means a ton to me because it's what got me and my brothers actually into comic books. That was the store next to my film school. I talk about being a film school kid all the time. It was down the street. That was the closest comic shop, and that's the one that really got me into comics. I was going every Wednesday because I was already there. And then when I launched into my career, the Silver Snail actually moved and followed me. So I was at Yonge and Dundas in downtown Toronto, and the Silver Snail moved right next to me there. They were there for about a decade while I was there for about a decade. So that was wonderful. Now they're at this great new Queen Street location right across from Trinity Bellwoods, and I had a great time, and I'll definitely be back again to hopefully do more events and just to hang out because I do love the store. So thank you to the folks at the Silver Snail. It was a great time. So what's today about? Let's talk about Free Comic Book Day because as much as I had a great time, there are some things that definitely should be addressed if this is going to be an event that's going to help retailers and help people get into comics. There's a few things that have been a problem since the onset of Free Comic Book Day, and it's kind of a microcosm of the problem of the comic book industry as a whole. So let's start with the very first problem. It's called Free Comic Book Day, and that's a misnomer. Yes, it is free to the readers coming in, to the people coming in off the street that want books. You can usually get your books absolutely free. Sometimes there are some limitations. Some retailers will only let you get a handful. They'll only let you get 1 or 2 or 5 or however many they choose. And the reason for that is because there is a cost to the retailer to pick up these books. This is not something that is done by the publishers. They're not given free books to hand out. So I appreciate the Silver Snail buying a bunch of copies for me to give out. It was above and beyond, and they definitely didn't have to do that, and I appreciate them for doing that. However, there's an expectation for them to do that with all the free books that they're giving out, which really does put a damper on things. The cost of the books themselves isn't so high. They're paying 20 to 50 cents per issue, but that's still a cost. When you're ordering hundreds and thousands of copies of books to just hand out, and you're putting it on the cost of the actual retailer itself, you can see why this is not as rosy as it seems on the outset, where Free Comic Book Day, we're just going to hand out comics from all these big-time publishers and let you read them for free so that hopefully you read the series beyond what you get today, knowing that the retailer is the one fronting it. It really shows that there's something a little bit off with the balance of things. This whole event is meant to celebrate retailers and comic book shops, and it's being done on their backs. So yes, it's Free Comic Book Day, and you can definitely enjoy picking up some free books. But if you're there, make sure you buy something because they got a lot of skin in the game. So even you buying 1 or 2 books off the shelf really does make a huge difference. It makes the whole thing worthwhile. So the other thing that's specific to 2026 is Free Comic Book Day isn't what it used to be. And that's because with the Diamond breakup, Free Comic Book Day is one portion, and there's Comics Giveaway Day, which is the other portion. So to regular people coming in off the street, Free Comic Book Day is still what it seems to be called, but as far as the retailer is concerned, they have 2 different distributors to work with now. They have distributors for Comic Giveaway Day, and they have distributors for Free Comic Book Day. And rather than coalescing and coming together and coming with a unique name that celebrates retailers and gets people into stores, we have this weird 2-way split. It's just saying, hey, come get some random comics. And if the whole point of this is to turn regular folks into comics readers, I don't think the name Comics Giveaway Day, or even Free Comic Book Day for that matter, is really getting to that point. It really should be a celebration of comics. Comic Celebration Day, something like that would make a lot more sense than, hey, come get free books and never come back. And that's actually my third point. That's the third biggest problem with Free Comic Book Day. You get a lot of people who are just there for the freebies. You know that's true with anything. I go to a lot of soccer games. I go to the Toronto FC games, and anytime they're handing out Rice-A-Roni or Ritz crackers or something on your way out, people will run with boxes. And I don't know that people are actually eating these full boxes of rice-a-roni and things that frankly are much cheaper than the concessions that I see half eaten all over the arena. But my point is that these freebie seekers are a different breed. Those people aren't necessarily going to be customers. The people that walk by and say, oh, free comics, and walk in and grab a comic just because, those people aren't necessarily going to turn into customers. Now, that's just marketing in general. I don't even know how many people who watch this have actually bought a copy of From Parts Unknown. Maybe they just enjoy my voice. Even with what I'm doing now with all these videos and the shorts and everything, I'm casting as wide of a net as possible, knowing that only a handful of the people that actually watch and listen every week are actually going and getting the books in stores or on Kickstarter. So that's just marketing. I get it. And it's the same thing with these free comic books. But again, knowing that you've put it all on the backs of retailers to get these books in the stores so that they can hand them out to people, if there was some incentive, some way for these people to be hooked a little more, to say, yes, you can get a free comic book, but you should really order a second comic book. So yes, handing out free comic books, a great strategy to get people in the door. But the problem is, the world of comic books is very complicated and confusing. We're talking about the ordering process. With From Parts Unknown, I was handing out issue 1, and I was telling every person I gave a copy to, I hope you enjoy this, and if you do, make sure you let them know before Monday, because that is the FOC for issue 2, which comes out all the way in June. Folks don't necessarily understand that. They think, oh, if I like this book, I can come back 3 months later and it'll be on the shelves. And the thing with comic books, as anyone who is familiar with comic books knows, is there's no guarantees. You may like a series and you got issue 1 and you go back for issue 2 a couple months later and it's gone because they only ordered so much. And again, anybody who's familiar totally understands why, and that's because books aren't returnable. Therefore, retailers don't take as much of a risk ordering things in, so there may not be enough copies of things on the shelves. And totally understandable, totally reasonable from a retailer standpoint. But this is the thing. People coming in off the street getting these free books don't know that. They may know how Barnes & Noble or Indigo here in Canada works, that if I order a book, you can just order it and it'll arrive and it's fine and it'll be on the shelves for months at a time. And there's no rush to do it on the weekend that it comes out because you may miss it. And not even the weekend that it comes out, but you have to know you want it a month before you ever see it. All of that. Super complicated and super unique just to comics. So getting people in the door and handing them a free comic is just one step. But letting them know about the whole ecosystem and maybe making it a little easier to navigate would definitely do a lot more for these retailers than just saying, hey, come take a free book and hopefully we'll see you again sometime. So that's the biggest problem with all of this. We're putting it all on the backs of retailers to do the work of these publishing companies, to do the marketing that you would think a publishing company would do. When a new movie comes out, even a comic book movie, even with Supergirl or Avengers Doomsday, they're not saying to the theaters, hey, make sure you buy marketing materials to make sure that my movie sells. They're sending them standees. They're sending them posters. They're sending them giveaways and designing popcorn buckets to go on their shelves that they can sell to get more people to watch their movies. But with comics, it's totally inverse. They're saying, stores, it's your responsibility to make sure my book gets sold. And that's kind of crazy. It's something I've been trying to work around and work against, is I'm really trying to get retailers on board, and I'm sending them freebies, and I'm visiting their stores and trying to drive people into the store so that people buy books, not just my books, but books in general. Hopefully my books as well. But I'm one small publisher with a small team behind me, and there's only so much I can do. But you would think a large publisher with a large media conglomerate backing would be able to help these stores to really push not just Free Comic Book Day, but the whole ecosystem itself. And the other part of it that I already touched on is it's not always so clear to readers how comics work, in the sense of, if you pick up this Free Comic Book Day issue, it may not have the follow-up for a month or 2 or more. And that's something that needs to be made a lot more clear in the comics themselves, but also in the advertising, that these books are a precursor to something else. You are rarely getting a full story. And a lot of the books are good about saying when books should be on shelves, but what they're not good at is explaining how FOC and all that stuff works. And again, it's not something that everyone should know. It's a very peculiar thing. But if you're expecting the retailers to take all the risk, you can mitigate that a bit by letting people know that they should pre-order their books. Don't just tell them the book's coming out in June. Tell them that they should pre-order in May. Make it easier on the retailers to help support you. And it's something that is very upside down. So to sum this whole conversation up, this is exactly what I'm talking about with Free Comic Book Day being a microcosm of the problems with the comics retail market. It's not the local comic shops that are causing comic shops to fail in most cases. If I've learned anything in my travels to all the comic shops that I've been going to with the Pesto Comics Roadshow and trying to push these books, is that these comic shops are hustling like no other business I've seen. I don't think a Subway is putting that much effort into getting people to come into the doors and eat subs. But these small businesses are doing everything possible to try and convince readers to come in and buy some books. And the challenge is coming from the publisher side. We've made it very difficult with the way this whole industry is structured for comic shops to survive. They're doing everything they can and they're getting very little help. And when they are given a hand, there's a price tag attached to it. And that's the biggest frustration of all of this. There's already very low margins with comic books, and one of the ways that that's being subsidized is on the retailers' backs. And it's very disappointing to see, so I'm going to do everything I can to support as many shops as I can. I'm a regular customer at more than one. I have my LCS, but I also have another couple that I'm always ordering books from. And I'd love to order books from every single one, but at the very least, I'm going to make sure to make my presence felt and make sure that I'm driving people into stores for From Parts Unknown and beyond. But for comic shops in general, I'm going to keep doing the roadshow. I'm going to keep going to all of these shops and highlighting places that I think deserve your attention and I think you should visit. And I'm going to keep pumping up comics in general. And part of comics is comic shops. So hopefully you have a comic shop that you frequent. And if you'd like to let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what shop you love. And hopefully one day I can make it out there and see it for myself. And with that, I want to thank you. I hope you enjoyed Free Comic Book Day. And more importantly, I hope you enjoyed From Parts Unknown #1. And pre-ordered From Parts Unknown #2. Make sure you pre-order From Parts Unknown #3. It's in the catalog right now. So with that, I want to thank you for being here. We'll talk again next week. Have a good one.